Hello, everyone. You are listening to Scenecraft. From opening shots to long takes and epilogues, we examine our favorite scenes from cinema here on the podcast. I'm Cody, here with my co-hosts,
Mark
and Connor.
You can find Scenecraft on most social media platforms at Scenecraft Podcast for the latest news on the show. Today we will be discussing Steven Brill's 1995 film Heavyweights. And to talk about it, we'd like to give a big Camp Hope hiya to our special guest, Nate Falkov. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Let's start the show the way we always do with our brief What We've Been Watching segment, Quick Takes.
Speak quickly.
Quickly, thank you.
Quickly, come on. Hurry up, quicker.
Way quicker.
Okay, I'll say it fast.
All right, Nate, since you are our special guest for the episode, can you tell us a little bit about what you've been watching lately?
I recently saw Talk to Me by the Filippo brothers out of Australia. The logline is, when a group of friends discovers how to conjure spirits by using an embalmed hand, they become hooked on the new thrill until one of them unleashes terrifying supernatural forces. So as far as I know, I'm the only one of you guys who has seen this, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You've probably seen the trailer or whatever, but you can kind of gather there's a little bit of a drug and alcohol metaphor. They're hooked on this new thrill. So you can kind of see them, they have this embalmed hand and they're pushing the boundaries of this thing. And it's actually really fun. Like the first third of the movie is very fun. And then when something's going to go wrong. And when it does, it's very disturbingly over the line wrong.
Ooh.
And that's where it gets interesting because you're kind of lulled into this passive state where like, this is cool. You know something's coming, but it still lulls you. But it really kind of in a way goes over the line, which made me reflect on like, what do we even want from a horror movie? I think a part of us does want to go over the line, but what's too far, what's not far enough. So I saw this movie with 4 people. 2 people hated it, 2 people loved it. So I think it is a polarizing movie. And what was interesting was the critical reception on Rotten Tomatoes is like exceedingly high, and the audience score is like pretty good, but like 75% or something.
Okay.
Which is really weird. Like normally it's the other way around, especially for something like horror, I would think. Like they're usually more crowd pleasers. But the thing that I liked about it, besides making me kind of question horror in general, is there's kind of like reality is unraveling a little bit.
Very cool.
And that to me is always interesting. So I recommend, but at your own risk, people were very squeamish in the theaters.
Okay.
Nate, did you find it to be more pop out horror or more just disturbing imagery? Because what gets me is the like jump scares.
There are maybe a couple things that could be considered jump scares, but mostly no. It's just like very psychological, but also stuff that's hard to watch.
Like disturbing body horror type stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say anything too spoilery, but like self-harm and things that are unrelenting too. You're like, okay, I get the idea. And it's like, oh, this is still going. Like, still going.
Okay.
Mark's in.
I'm in.
And then I'm also rewatching Eastbound and Down, which, if you're not familiar, many years after he turned his back on his hometown, a burned-out Major League ball player returns to teach physical education at his old middle school. So I gather you guys are fans. Cody, have you seen it?
I'm the only one who has not, and there's a little point of contention between the 3 of us about like Jody Hill, Danny McBride stuff, but I have seen Vice Principals, which I ended up loving. Still have not checked out Eastbound and Down, so curious to hear what you think.
Well, that's kind of their big breakthrough, and I mean, the tone is probably very similar to everything else. Like, if you go back and watch it, like, oh yeah, they had a fully formed sensibility back then. It's exceedingly obscene. It's shot so well. Like, it's a beautiful filmmaking. It's shot on film, like single camera, like these very good montages and sound editing and stuff. But really, star of the show is Kenny Powers, big ego. What's interesting on a rewatch is how risque it was even back then, and how like some of the stuff now is just like wow, that has not gotten any less risque. So just as an example, in the last 3 episodes I've watched, Kenny buys an AR-15 assault rifle for his nephew.
Oh my God.
He says New York, more like Jew York.
Wow.
He goes boogie boarding on a Confederate flag themed boogie board. And his assistant Stevie, while dressed like a pimp in front of a bunch of black kids, calls George Washington a not so nice word for gay people.
Oh man.
Ooh.
But the thing is, it's like the way the tone is, it's clearly so satirical and poking fun at stuff, but some people could potentially take it the wrong way, both in that like they'd be offended, or I remember when it was popular, like frat boys were like, yeah, man, he's awesome. And you're like, no, the point is he's not awesome.
Right.
Yeah.
But it kind of had that Wolf of Wall Street effect where
Oh sure.
the audience was a little dumber than you'd like, I think. It attracted some dumb audience members.
Yeah, and for me, the Danny McBride, Jody Hill stuff, that fine line that they ride, that's where it gets tricky for me, because on one hand, presenting any of this and saying it out loud is like a hateful thing. And on the other hand, because you're supposed to find the character despicable, it's making a commentary against it. So they ride that line really, really well. I think sometimes I'm on board and sometimes I'm not. I'm curious to check this out.
Well, I think their whole thing actually is they like deliberately pushing past the point where you are on board.
Sure.
Like everything I've ever watched has the character do something despicable. Like that's almost deliberately making you like, I'm not into this anymore. Like you just killed someone. Or
Yeah.
they're clearly very fascinated by crossing that line.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Mark, what have you been watching?
So I recently watched The Deepest Breath, which was directed by Laura McGann, and it was released in 2023. And the logline reads, a champion and expert safety diver seem destined for one another. Despite different paths taken, they meet at the pinnacle of the free diving world, experiencing the thrilling rewards and inescapable risks of chasing dreams through the depths of the ocean. So for me, this is kind of coming off the incredible Netflix series Beef, which was also an A24 pairing with Netflix. And this is a documentary that gives unique insight into the world of freediving, which is essentially holding your breath and diving as deep as you possibly can before you need to resurface for air. It sounds crazy, right?
Yeah.
It's because it is. And to the movie's credit, the documentary is gorgeously shot, and I thought some of the footage was truly incredible. I don't want to give too much away, so I would actually recommend not looking up anything about it online, because the filmmakers purposely withhold some information from the audience in order to heighten the suspense of everything, for better or for worse, depending on how you look at it. If you're searching for another thrill-based documentary similar to something like Free Solo, I would definitely recommend watching The Deepest Breath.
Oh, nice. I really enjoyed Free Solo quite a bit.
I think you'd like this one then.
All right, I'm sold.
I also watched The Beanie Bubble, which was directed by Kristen Gore and Damian Kulash. And it was released this year, 2023, and the logline reads, Ty Warner was a frustrated toy salesman until his collaboration with 3 women grew his idea into the biggest toy craze in history. So first things first, what was your relationship to Beanie Babies? Were you guys part of the craze?
Yeah, we were. We weren't like crazy about it, but I still have like all my Beanie Babies, of course. Thought the value was going to go way up, you know.
Do you remember the McDonald's promotion?
Oh, yeah.
What a
yes.
genius marketing move.
Oh,
Amazing.
yes. I will get to that. That is part of this movie.
Okay.
And it's great. Cody, were you a Beanie Baby guy?
I myself was not. I recall like tangentially, I think my sister collected them for a while. I remember there being like a big pile in this basket like under her bed. And
Okay.
I think we like immediately ripped off all the tags and everything and like completely
Yeah.
valueless right away. But
Sure. Yeah. So my mom, sister, and I were huge fans of Beanie Babies in the 90s. I have some really great memories of driving around to different toy stores with my mom and looking for the rare ones at the time. So I definitely went into this film hoping to get a behind-the-scenes look at the company and Ty Warner himself, because he's notoriously reclusive and he doesn't really grant interviews. I'll say that this movie was kind of a mixed bag for me in some ways. The nostalgic elements were truly great for me, and it was fun reliving some of the big events that occurred during the peak of the Beanie Baby craze, such as the McDonald's promotional tie-in. Zach Galifianakis actually plays Ty Warner, and he's remarkable and he's really, really great. And he's nearly unrecognizable because he doesn't have his trademark facial hair.
Oh,
so
weird.
when I saw the trailer, I didn't even realize it was him at first. So this is a new dramedy on Apple TV Plus, and it essentially follows 3 female workers and their relationship to Ty as his company gains traction. And this film chooses to present its narrative in a non-linear fashion, which is completely fine, but there's several moments where we get these jumps in time that are right up against each other to the point where I almost got confused. So while I understand the purpose of it was to try to maximize the exposure of how scummy Ty was at times, I sort of wish they kind of played off a little bit more straightforward. And then after I finished the movie, I did a little research online to look at the factual accuracy of the film. And not to my surprise, there were a great number of moments that were fabricated in this. And it seems like it's an all too common trend that we see movies mine real life companies and IP to tell a story. But it just seems kind of counterintuitive to me that if you're going to use something that people know, why do you go and fictionalize several events and characters? And I know you guys are probably thinking, well, cut the filmmakers some slack. It's a movie after all. They should have some creative liberties. And you could also argue that if I wanted the straightforward truth, I could just watch a documentary. Well, boys, I actually went ahead and watched another movie called Beanie Mania, which is a documentary on Max. And let me tell you, I still didn't really walk away totally satisfied.
What do you want out of Beanie Babies, Mark?
He wants the truth.
What would satisfy you here?
I don't know. I'm still searching. This documentary focused more on like the group of women that lived in a suburb that kind of started the hype surrounding them when they first started to become popular. Between the two, I would say that I enjoyed the Beanie Bubble more than the documentary. So take that for what it's worth. I honestly would recommend the Beanie Bubble if you're interested in Beanie Babies at all, or if you grew up during that time. It's also worth mentioning that Elizabeth Banks and Sarah Snook from Succession turned in some great performances as well.
Oh, nice. Cool.
Mark, this is another film in your long line of rise and fall, weird product biopics.
Yeah, I know. I noticed that too.
You're
it
on a
seems
kick.
like
Flamin' hot.
Yeah, maybe I'll watch Tetris for my next one.
Ooh,
Yeah.
you should.
Coming next time.
What about you, Connor? What have you watched recently?
Well, like last time, I have not had a ton of time to watch a lot, but I did make time to watch a couple of things that I'll talk through. And the first one, you'll be pleased to know, was going back to rewatch Forrest Gump,
Oh, okay.
an old favorite, directed by Robert Zemeckis from 1994. The logline reads, "The history of the United States from the 1950s to the 70s unfolds from the perspective of an Alabama man with an IQ of 75 who yearns to be reunited with his childhood sweetheart, Jen A." So the reason I rewatched this, and I hadn't seen it since I was a kid, was because my wife said she had never seen it before.
Wow.
So that was actually a real treat to watch it with somebody, especially like somebody so close to me who has never seen it before and experiencing it for the first time. And it was great. I mean, I loved it on rewatch. I hadn't seen it since I was pretty young, and I know it's a favorite of yours, Mark, right?
It was at one point my favorite movie of all time.
That's right. So, in the years since I've seen it, I've been to Bubba Gump. I have heard a lot about the movie, and lately after rewatching it, went on Letterboxd just to check it out, and there were like surprisingly a bunch of low reviews for the movie. Like people give it 1 star, 2 stars. I was really confused by that. And I just can't imagine not liking the movie Forrest Gump.
I don't even want to meet the person who gave this movie a 1 star.
What kind of do they have some kind of bone to pick with it, or are they just?
I think it's more of a new generation thing. Like if you didn't grow up with it and you look at it, I could see it just feeling hokey.
To them, it's like a dad movie now.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
It's a bit of that, but the main criticism I was seeing was that if you live your life essentially just saying yes to everything and going with the flow and not objecting to anything at all, you're then rewarded and you kind of rise to the top. And they're criticizing it as like a boomer type mindset, like you were saying. So that was the main criticism that I saw about it. And I mean, I can't say that I think that was the movie's intention or the message at all.
Right.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I really love this movie for its celebration of cinema and the eras of America that it depicts, the way that it shows the Vietnam War, these famous pop culture moments through the 70s, the 80s, the 90s. It was just really, really enjoyable to watch, and I had a great time with it. So I would definitely recommend, if you've never seen it before, it's an iconic movie that you should definitely check out. It's a great piece of movie history. But going off of what Nate was talking about earlier, I have also been watching The Righteous Gemstones season 3, new season out this year, and it's created by Danny McBride, who also created Eastbound and Down and Vice Principals. And this show follows a world-famous televangelist family with a long tradition of deviance, greed, and charitable work, which is, I feel like, a really funny log line for this. But I think we've talked about it before, but I absolutely loved Vice Principals. It's one of Mark and I's favorites. We got Cody into it, like he mentioned. I also really, really liked Eastbound and Down. It definitely was something super different at the time, and I was just really into how unique it was, and I had never seen anything quite like it when it was out. So it's funny that you're rewatching it, Nate. That's great.
I'm rewatching it because I just watched Righteous Gemstones, and I'm like, I need more Danny McBride.
So I'm kind of right there with you. So for Righteous Gemstones, I thought season 1 was really great, pretty amazing. Season 2 was not quite as good, still really entertaining to see Eric Andre. So far this season, I mean, it like pains me to say this, but season 3 just has not been to the level that even season 2 was. So these characters are incredible. The ensemble cast is great. Love to see the way that they all interact and banter together, but not much is really happening in the way of a plot this season. And I feel like it's just a bit more of the same. And it was actually texting with Mark earlier today about it, but it kind of left me craving that like special quality that Vice Principals had, where you were left wanting more after season 2. It was kind of like the perfect amount, ended on such a great note. And here I'm actually feeling like I'm getting almost a bit too much.
How far in it, can I ask?
We are towards the end of the new season, which I think is,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, I guess there's not much left then to persuade you.
Who knows? Maybe it'll completely redeem itself. But so far, I mean, it's very entertaining. A lot of really funny writing and humor and jokes. Of course, it's like very off the wall if you're familiar with their humor. But this one is just unfortunately not really doing it for me like the other seasons and other work that the team has created have done for me. So I don't know if you guys have watched it or feel any different, but it's kind of where I was at on it. How about you, Cody? What have you been watching lately?
I recently saw Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem, directed by Jeff Rowe, came out just a few weeks ago. The logline for the film reads, "After years of being sheltered from the human world, the Turtle brothers set out to win the hearts of New Yorkers and be accepted as normal teenagers." So I went out to the theater to see Mutant Mayhem. I'm really glad I did because it's an absolute delight. I have really no real connection or relationship with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles when I was growing up, except for a few of the NES and arcade games in that early 90s period. So I really had no expectations surrounding this film. I knew that Seth Rogen is a writer and a producer on it, but that's really about it. I would describe the aesthetic of the movie as sort of Into the Spider-Verse meets something like Paranorman, in one of the Leica claymation films. You have these beautiful graffiti and pop art inspirations mixed with this choppy, tactile style and grotesque character designs, very asymmetrical faces that you get with a Leica claymation, Coraline, Kubo and the Two Strings, all those films. When I was a kid, I was really interested in monsters and all things spooky. So the general look of this film really appealed to the kid in me. And it rests on its lovable, sincere characters to drive the story forward, guide us through a handful of really imaginative action scenes. It also has a really fresh sense of humor, very young sense of humor, in the sense that the creators aren't afraid to really let their weird flag fly and let the vocal performances feel natural and spontaneous. It doesn't feel so written.
Yeah.
This movie really worked for me on every level, and I truly hope that it ushers in a new generation of fandom for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I'd really recommend checking out Mutant Mayhem out in theaters now.
I too saw it recently, and I had a blast with it too. It may be my favorite iteration of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Mhm.
I wouldn't say that I'm a connoisseur by any means, but I really enjoyed this one. It was nice to see them like as actual kids.
Yeah.
You really felt that energy, and so I had a blast with it.
And then next up, actually last night, I watched Sorcerer by the late William Friedkin, which was released in 1977. The logline for the film is 4 fugitives from across the globe agree to risk their lives transporting unstable cases of nitroglycerin across a treacherous South American jungle. So, in honor of Oscar winner William Friedkin, who passed away on August 7th, I watched Sorcerer, which Friedkin considered to be his most challenging and intimate film. And it's a bit of an unsung masterpiece. It does now have a big cult following, and I've seen so many people recently discovering this amazing film, as well as its 1950s source material that it was based on. But unfortunately, Sorcerer was originally released in June of 1977, right in the wake of Star Wars. So it completely bombed at the box office at the time, and it was met with mediocre reviews. And it's really been embroiled in ownership litigation over the years. It's just one of those films where the negativity surrounding its production and release overshadows the thing itself. And that's really sad because this is really one of the best slow burn thrillers that I've ever seen, I think. It gets its title, Sorcerer, from one of the names of the trucks carrying dynamite in the film. And every scene surrounding those trucks is pure cinema magic. It keeps you in suspense and constantly surprised. It has a really non-traditional structure, and it really takes its time. And if you're patient with its table setting that it does for the first third of the movie, I think it pays off in a really big way. It's among the best evidence that Friedkin is one of our best thriller procedural filmmakers ever. So rest in peace to William Friedkin. Please go check out this amazing film Sorcerer, which you can rent on a couple different platforms. Highly recommend.
Awesome. I think I might watch this tonight. I have been like really curious to watch it.
Ooh.
And I was just chatting with our mutual friend of the show, Harry, and he recently watched it. And I also recommended, if you guys haven't seen it, To Live and Die in LA is an awesome Friedkin movie from 1985 that I highly recommend checking out. It's a great thriller.
Oh, definitely. Thanks for that. I will.
For the non-sophisticated audience members, obviously I'm a true cinephile and I love Friedkin. What would the audience maybe know besides To Live and Die in LA or Sorcerer?
The Exorcist is probably his
Okay.
most well-known, and The French Connection are some of his biggest.
I was trying to think if I've seen any of his movies, but I have seen The French Connection.
Mm-hmm.
I'm super intrigued.
I actually watched The Exorcist for the first time this year.
It's
And
so good.
I was blown away.
Yeah, it's just masterful. It's really, really a great movie, great film.
Well, thank you guys. And now let's move into our discussion about Heavyweights, directed by Steven Brill, starring Ben Stiller, Tom McGowan, and Kenan Thompson, among many others. And as with all of our scene selections, beware of spoilers ahead.
At age 12, I weighed 319 pounds. I had bad skin, low self-esteem, and no self-respect. Now, I eat success for breakfast with skim milk. Pounds are gonna fly, and fat is out of here, mister!
The logline for the film reads, "Portly misfits unite to take back their summer camp from a psychotic fitness guru." Connor, we're going to start with you. I know you have a special connection to the film. Can you tell us about your relationship with Heavyweights?
So I have a lot to say about this movie. Feel free to cut me off if it's going too long. But if I had to guess, I have probably seen this movie 50 or 60 times.
Oh my God.
It's a lot. I watched this movie 2 times alone in the past 24 hours just to prep for this episode. I'm so happy we're covering it for today's show and giving it the attention it deserves, because it's kind of an under the radar movie that's now rightfully becoming a bit of a cult classic. For anyone that doesn't know, this is a Disney movie. It's PG, and it was written by Steven Brill and Judd Apatow in his feature film debut. I don't know the whole story behind it, but I know it was originally envisioned as more like an R-rated raunchy movie, and some of that makes its way in despite being a Disney movie. There's a couple of light swear words, some crude humor, and some overdubbing of a more suggestive joke they had to change out at one point. I don't know if you guys caught that. Now I have to ask, for us 80s and 90s kids, I think everyone had a favorite movie in your family's VHS collection that for whatever reason you would just watch over and over again. This is that movie for me. Mark, I think I know yours.
Mrs. Doubtfire?
Yeah. What about you, Nate?
I think it's actually Heavyweights.
Nice. And Cody?
The Star Wars special editions,
Okay.
along with all of the Disney films,
Awesome.
like
Yeah.
Rescuers Down Under, watched repeatedly.
Aladdin.
Aladdin, of course. Yep, all those animated films.
Classics. Well, this is my favorite movie of all time. And I think we all know those answers you give when someone asks you what your favorite movie is. You got to let them know that you know what you're talking about. So for me, I'll rattle off like Lost in Translation, Blade Runner, Spirited Away, Portrait of a Lady on Fire. But deep down, we've all got that favorite movie that's not like a film movie. So that's this movie is that for me. This movie holds such a special place in my heart. It is pure 90s elation. I think the specialness of this movie comes from the little things. The camp setting, which has kind of become a genre in and of itself. Like, does it get any better than a summer camp in the 1990s? The time period, the gags, the actors, I mean, the quotes. For me, this is the most quotable movie of all time. Bar down, hands none. The writing is so good. The lines are so memorable. And it's really become a language of its own in my family over the years. It actually got to a point when I was growing up where my dad, my brother, and I could basically talk in quotes from this movie. I did not send you to go-kart camp was almost my senior quote until our friend Cam did a Heavyweights quote. And I didn't want it to look like I was copying him, so I changed it up. But I was the real fan. And I just want to say, rewatching it now, this movie actually has some really great, important life lessons about friendship, being true to yourself, and about good leadership. And I think it's a great movie for kids to watch. Tony Perkis, I think, pretty clearly an example of a bad leader. He goes about getting results from his team in like the worst way possible. Chris from Camp MVP, I think, is also an example of a bad leader. But Pat, on the other hand, Tim, and Nurse Julie are all examples of good leaders who are true to themselves and they stand up for what they believe in, ultimately leading to positive results. And I think there's a quote in here that's really beautiful. On Parents' Day, Jerry's dad, Maury, sees Jerry for the first time that summer, and he says, "Hey, big guy, you look the same." And Jerry says, "Well, I feel good." And that told me as a kid that being happy is being true to yourself. And even if you're a bit different than other people, just be open to new experiences and you might find your people that you are meant to be with. So, Nate, I'm really happy that you're joining us today as another big fan of this film. What about you? What does this movie kind of mean for you?
I'm sort of in a similar vein of I used to watch this movie all the time on VHS. It was one of the few movies I think that I have retained a nostalgia for. Like everyone's, I remember Cody, one time we watched like Hook and everyone was so into it. And I'm like, what's the big deal? Like, I don't have that nostalgia for any other movie besides Heavyweights. And rewatching it, I think because I'm a little bit of a comedy nerd, I was just very interested in all of the influences that made this and kind of fascinated that it's directed by Steve Brill, who I'd never really heard of, but you look it up and he's the Mighty Ducks guy.
Yeah.
And then it's written by Judd Apatow, which everyone knows. And it's got Paul Feig?
Yep.
So it's like, it's this weird mix of the Mighty Ducks and Freaks and Geeks, which would come later. And like, I don't even know why it has like that kind of underdog sports movie to it. They could have kind of left the finale out, but for some reason it does make it better. Like,
yeah, it works.
It just works. And it wasn't something that I would have thought works. But the kind of sweetness and sentimentality of it, which I didn't know that originally was supposed to be an R movie. That makes sense. It's got like this R sensibility crammed into a kid's movie,
Yeah.
which is really cool.
So I would classify this movie as a soft spot movie. To me, it doesn't really necessarily matter how objectively good or bad the movie is. It's more about the overall experience. And I will say that I actually first saw this movie with you, Connor, in high school. So my history of it is very different than yours. My own personal soft spot movies, so to speak, were Rookie of the Year and Mrs. Doubtfire, like I mentioned before. And I actually kind of find it funny that this movie was almost like a Rosetta Stone for me in high school when I discovered how many quotes you pulled from it and you used in everyday conversation. And rewatching it, there were so many things I was like, oh yeah, Connor used to say that all the time. I didn't realize it was from this movie. But one thing I really enjoyed about this movie was that you definitely get a sense of space for the campgrounds and friendships between the characters. I went to a sleepaway camp, as they call them, and a lot of the things really rang true to me when I watched this. And it's also really funny to think about how this movie would never be made today, just because of how politically incorrect it would be by today's standards. And I really enjoyed Ben Stiller's performance. He basically plays a prototype of his future health-obsessed dodgeball character, White Goodman, and he completely nails the greedy, condescending, and rude villain with ease. And it's probably one of the most memorable parts of the movie for me, other than some classic one-liners. Cody, what did you think?
Yeah, honestly, I think you guys have all said it better than I possibly could. And especially you, Connor, and Nate have a much closer relationship with the movie. It's always been one of those movies for me. I've probably revisited it about a dozen times. And for me, it's 100% in the hands of Ben Stiller. As Mark was saying, his proto White Goodman character, as well as the orderly character he plays in Happy Gilmore, just I think 1 year later, kind of that same tone of voice, that same sadistic sense of humor. That's why we revisit Heavyweights over and over. I think that he unlocked this particular type of antagonist that people have been echoing for decades after this. He has found this really fine balance between having complete contempt for the character and also just laughing at them.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, great point.
Really enjoyed watching the movie again. And with that, let's get into our scene selection, which we are going to call Team Perkis. Connor, would you please give us the scene beats?
I would love to. So this scene drops 15 minutes into the movie and it runs for 5 minutes. It's basically the crux of the entire film, captured in one amazing, iconic, absolutely incredible scene. I'm so glad we're covering it. So our main character, Jerry, and all the campers and staff of Camp Hope gather in the mess hall for a first night welcome speech from Harvey and Alice Bushkin, the longtime owners of the camp. Up to this point, Camp Hope seems like the best place on earth. Jerry's a little apprehensive about going to Fat Camp, as he calls it. But from the minute he gets on the plane to camp, all the characters he meets basically don't shut up about how great camp is and how he's going to have the best damn summer of his life. Things take an unexpected turn when the Bushkins announce that they're no longer the owners of Camp Hope. The crowd is crushed, all the air is taken out of the room, until the new owner, Tony Perkis, played by Ben Stiller, makes a wild entrance and proceeds to give a very high-energy presentation for his vision of the camp, which is turning this summer into the #1 weight loss infomercial in the country. He's scary. He couldn't be more opposite than the Bushkins. The whole camp is just completely shook, and the movie officially kicks off after this scene. So, getting into it, what stood out from this scene to you guys? Anything in general that you want to talk about?
Well, one thing, just to kind of center us in the time period, in the scene itself, the opening shot of the scene is a banner. It's an overhead banner that reads "One Big Family Since 1962." So we know the camp opened in 62. We've also heard a bit of a timeline from Pat. So Pat has been there for 18 years. He started going there when he's 10, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what year that would have been per se, but I know we were texting about this the other day, how Pat is supposed to be 28 years old.
So is that what it is, or is it like a combination of his time spent like going to camp there and then he came back later as I don't know, but he's clearly
Yeah,
not
could have been.
28.
Yeah,
No, he's not.
that could be true. But yeah, he's
He's
supposed
like
to be.
40.
But I love that detail. How everyone else. I've been here 2 years. I've been here. That's later on in the film. But anyway, just to kind of center us on the time period, how long the Bushkins have been operating and owning the camp, and how long many of these kids have been coming here.
Well, it's a good point to bring up too, because everybody keeps coming back, and it's important to remember the goal of this camp is to be a weight loss camp, and none of the kids ever lose weight. So like, why would the parents keep sending them back year after year? It has to be because of how much they enjoy the camp and how much they love going there. And clearly everybody is just on cloud nine at this camp. They just totally love it and get along great. It's a great group of kids.
Connor, to what you were saying earlier so beautifully, I think that what matters most to these kids and ultimately to the parents that they see when their kids come back is being in a community where everyone feels at home and included and welcome. And ultimately, that is what Camp Hope is. It is hope for these, as the log line puts it, misfits. Being all together and there and experiencing this, and maybe you lose some weight, maybe you don't, but ultimately it's about making lasting friendships, and I love that.
I know we talked about this being a bit like politically incorrect in today's landscape, but there is a great line that Roy has on the plane when he's introducing himself to Jerry, where he says, "You're gonna love it at camp, man, because you're not the fat kid. Everyone's
the fat kid."
Yeah, it's so great. It's like it really like opens Jerry's eyes, and like you could see him light up at the realization of like it's going to be a good summer.
I'm curious your thoughts on that political incorrectness, because I felt the same thing of like, oh, I don't think this could get made now because of how they handle weight. But like, what is it about that wouldn't play today? Because I kind of feel like they never punch down.
No, they never do.
At fat people. It almost feels like it's written like by fat people being pro-fat. You know what I mean?
Oh,
For
absolutely.
lack of a better term.
Yeah, I don't think that there's anything negative about the way it's portraying like being overweight or, any kind of connotations that come along with that. It's more about just feeling good about yourself and like finding people that you relate with. So I think the message is really positive. I think it's more so that I just don't know if anybody would want to go there today just for a worry of like having it read the wrong way.
I completely agree with that.
Oh, so
Connor.
no one would send their kid there because that's a bad thing to do.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
So then the movie doesn't work because like, oh, what kind of monster would send their kid to a fat camp?
Right.
You're not accepting them.
Well, it's interesting that you guys read it that way. And I think maybe the biggest offender is that right at the beginning of the film to kind of set this all up. I think for the vast majority of the film, you're definitely right. It doesn't punch down. However, at the beginning of the film, to set this all up, it does it does sort of delve into like, oh, the kid can't throw a baseball.
That seems so ridiculous. Like,
it is.
How hard is it to throw a baseball over like a 4-foot fence?
Yeah, I always wondered too if like it was intentional that he didn't push it over the fence on the last time, or if it was like just a improvised thing and it actually happened. It's so great.
It's essentially a little montage where he's walking home because he missed the bus because he's not fast enough to get on the bus. And then you even see a dog hates him.
Yeah.
Because why?
I was just going to say that.
The dog's barking at him. Really, I think the most shallow part of the film is right at the beginning just to set that up. Yeah. I don't even necessarily know that it needed that, but you're right. The rest of the movie does feel very hopeful in these characters and their interactions. So for the most part, I think it's like okay.
Yeah, and I think it's really about the relationship between the campers. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that starts this is that chant that the call and response that they have between the previous owners and the campers. And I one of my favorite moments is when Josh looks to Jerry and says something along the lines of, "You'll get it," even though it's like this it's like 3 words. It's super simplistic, but there definitely is that culture when you go to these kind of sleepaway camps where it's just so far removed from your everyday life, whether it's school, your regular group of friends back home. It's this own subculture that you kind of just get thrown in the middle of right away. And you have your regulars that are around you that kind of show you the ropes. And then you have others that kind of look at you kind of weirdly,
Yeah.
that you don't know everything. It all is very true to life.
I think it captures that experience of being like the new person really well.
Mm-hmm.
And I just really love how storied the Bushkins are. To go off that last point you had, Mark, like Josh also says, last year they got us the Blob, and this year I heard they're getting us jet skis. And Jerry's like in awe, like, oh man, like where am I? This is great.
Right.
Definitely. Well, I think we'd be remiss if we didn't begin with the crucial component of the scene, which are the performances in the scene. That's what it is all centered around as we've been talking about these relationships. The character of Tony Perkis, played by Ben Stiller. Let's dig into the performances here a little bit.
So we talked a little bit about the Bushkins already, but talking about their performances in particular, Ben Stiller's dad, Jerry Stiller, they both do such a great job, but Jerry's performance is amazing. Just the way he starts out with, sometimes in life, things don't work out the way you planned. You file for Chapter 9 bankruptcy. I know that's like a great line that you love.
Jesus Christ!
Yeah.
Breaks down. I love that he breaks down.
Mhm.
Yeah.
There's something so funny about an adult breaking down in front of children.
Yeah.
Yes.
And getting this close and personal with the bankruptcy factor. Like we were talking pre-record, we were talking a little bit about how no one in the room knows that they're
Right.
no longer the owners of the camp and that they've sold it. Nobody in the room knows. That's just not how this would happen in real life. This would be
Right.
a diplomatic, quiet conversation with all the counselors and staff to say there's going to be a little bit of a change. Here's the transition plan. Here's what's going on. We're going to onboard these new people. We're going to swiftly exit. But
Yeah.
no, it's just an announcement at a camp welcome, which just makes this all so much funnier.
That's true.
I love as a movie for kids too, that they're throwing around words like bankruptcy, and at the very
Yes.
end he says what do you guys think he meant by his advice? Never let anyone sign your checks. That always stuck with me as a kid.
So I think that's if you have an accountant and you're
Oh.
handing them a blank check, hey, just go ahead and fill in the number that I need to pay this bill or something.
Oh,
Someone's
man.
taking advantage of him giving over a blank check that is
Wow.
signed.
So is that kind of our consensus and theory on what happened to the Bushkins? Is they had a fraudulent money manager, accountant?
I think that's what's implied. Yeah. At first, I thought it was, well, none of these kids are losing weight, and so there's no incentive for people to go back. But if you look at it, there's so many repeat campers, and
Well,
so that's
right.
clearly
They're
not
running a
the
great
reason why.
business.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
They do a new promotional video every year.
Right.
I mean,
Mhm.
clearly it's working for them.
hmm A side note: when I went to sleepaway camp back in, I don't know, early 2000s, we actually had a VHS that was sent to us.
That's
And
awesome.
once again, the details are so funny because it was very similar. They had camper interviews mixed with B-roll footage of campers playing, just to give this overall sense of a fun time. So it was really funny seeing that at the beginning of the movie.
Wow.
But going back to the scene, one thing I really like too, and Connor, you kind of touched on it with the performances and even just the screenwriting altogether, is that all these terms are just completely over the kids' heads.
Yeah.
And so nobody's playing to the audience at all. They're they're explaining these or they're just using these terms without any explanation. The kids are already kind of shocked that they're leaving, and then on top of it, they're throwing all these financial terms that they have no idea what's going on.
Well, as a kid, I think it reads oh, that's adult stuff. That it just
Mhm.
explains it away.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And the emotion of it is so clear. That's probably my favorite part of this first
Yeah.
beat of the scene is just how devastating it is.
Ugh.
And they set it up so nice with the sign and the way they entrance, and he makes that weird bird call. You
Yeah.
can just tell how much the kids love this camp,
Mhm.
and then just immediately are so crushed, and they linger on these reaction shots where they're just devastated. So it sets up the insult of Tony Perkis coming in so well.
Well, and let's move on to Tony Perkis, because Ben Stiller's performance here, I mean, it's an all-timer.
Yeah.
In his opening monologue or speech to the kids in the camp, he has a line in here that I think sums up his character extremely well. And it's very odd for a kids movie. It's definitely an adult joke. But he says, being an only child, educated entirely by private tutors my whole life, I'm looking forward to interacting with children for the first time.
Oh my God.
And I like that line too, because there's something about his character where like it seems like he wants to be liked, but he just doesn't know how.
Yes.
So despite him being a villain, there's almost this like you need that other side of a villain, understandable, relatable reason that they are the way they are. And I think he does have that established in a very quick way.
Totally.
Yeah, it's through what he tells us, right? But then we also see the opening and closing where he's kind of walking by, like waiting for a high five from anybody, just for that
Just
validation.
anybody.
Yeah.
Connor, you pointed out that great detail about when he first appears, after the percussive music cues and the police siren, which we'll get into, but how he approaches one of the campers and kind of flips around his ball cap. And it's like he's trying to just make contact, whether physically or emotionally in any way. He's trying to make contact with these kids in like the most stereotypical way possible. Like, let me just give you a little noogie, because that's what you do to like a camper, right? As he's running down the aisle, he's just doing this to like whatever kid is in his path. It's just a funny character choice.
Well, and this is such a great bit of exposition, not only in just what he says, but the way that he delivers it, because clearly, we come to find out that he was very similar to these kids, but even more so extreme. He has that line, kids, at age 12, I weighed 319 pounds. I had bad skin, low self-esteem, and no self-respect.
And when he says that, they cut to a reaction shot of like the kids are like, what? Like,
Yeah.
I think
Like, oh.
what's interesting is like he thinks he's like them, but he was just more isolated, I think.
Right.
Like
Right.
if Tony Perkis had a fat camp, he wouldn't be Tony Perkis.
Exactly.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
It's a great point. So, I mean, definitely a very early seed of White Goodman, like you guys have said, another really famous character of his from Dodgeball. But in my eyes, like, and for my money, this is Ben Stiller's best performance. We don't see it in this scene, but we get to see what he's like when cameras are rolling, and then how dangerous he is when cameras are off, which is just such a great character detail. He's way too intense, takes himself way too seriously. He can be violent. He's genuinely like a scary character.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
he's-
unpredictable.
He's got like the crazy eyes thing going, like the way he kind of like tilts his head downward and stares upward, like with his dark eyes, with like the whites of his eyeball. It's just it would be very scary as a camper,
What about Jerry? What did you guys think of his performance? There's something weirdly adult about some of his reactions to some of the quips from Perkis that I found very funny.
Yeah, for me, he's a funny main character. I know we're supposed to like really identify with him, and he's our vehicle, like we mentioned, but I just found him like way too comfortable in a new setting. He's got this kind of like smugness to his character in general, which I found pretty entertaining. Like the way he remarks, like he's from England, when Tony Perkis says like the new president of the United States of America.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
To Nicholas.
And it is funny throughout the film, like one of you touched earlier on how they really captured the feeling of being new somewhere, and kind of
Yeah.
like they did a really good job of all giving the new kid a lot of sass, but also being very accommodating and welcoming at the same time.
Right.
And Jerry's responses, like you say, Connor, the smug response to like each of these things, like when he first meets Pat at the bus, and Pat is saying, can you drive stick shift? And his response
yeah.
is like, oh, I can try. If I were Jerry at that age, I would have just like, my voice would have been like rattling and been like, no, I don't like, no, I
Yeah.
can't do it. And I like wouldn't have understood the joke. So he's kind of
confident for
he's
sure.
very
Yeah.
confident. Yeah.
I'm really glad you brought that up, Cody, because I feel like the normal plot beat would have been that Jerry had to prove himself, being the new kid at camp. But I feel like that is all really shorthand when he's first introduced to the kids, and he gets along with everybody pretty well, and everybody is very welcoming, which I felt like was almost a little bit more refreshing than it had it been, him being teased or bullied by some of the other campers.
That's a good point. In this movie, there is no misfit because they're all misfits, which I guess is kind of that whole lane of comedy that got invented. But I think Jerry as a character is a little bland, honestly. He is kind of just an audience stand-in and a way to get in the story, but he doesn't really have a personality.
I agree.
He really, really wants to go fast because he's slow.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, all his stuff, like at the beginning of the movie, like, I had plans this summer. I was going to hang out.
Yeah.
Like, it's just so vague.
Yeah.
We don't know what he likes, what he's into, anything about him.
Yeah.
So Connor, be honest, with this being a popular movie of yours, did you have a crush on Nurse Julie when you first watched this movie?
I mean, I think, as a kid, everybody who...
You're so flustered. He's like, "No, everyone had a crush. It wasn't just me. There's nothing wrong with that. It's perfectly normal."
I mean, I would say, yeah, for sure. Did you guys?
I think I did, definitely.
Yeah, just because especially because she's so like kind.
Yes.
Yeah.
Kind.
She's like the only female presence in like pretty much the whole movie.
This film does not pass the Bechdel test.
No.
That and the dance scene.
Oh
obviously.
yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit about the setting itself. Anything you guys noticed about the mess hall that they're in the scene?
Yeah, so as I previously mentioned, I went to a sleepaway camp, and the wood lodge that they had there was so accurate. It just had me smiling the whole time because they had these like long wooden benches along the periphery of the room, and then they had these kind of just like generic stools, chairs that everybody was sitting on. There was kind of this minimal dark lighting. It all just felt very familiar to me. And it makes sense because this was actually shot at two different camps located in North Carolina. And I think they're both still active to this day.
Oh, awesome.
So
nice. Yeah. I mean, that's definitely that stood out to me too. I mean, shout out to all the logo and branding design in this film. It's really iconic. From the Camp Hope logo, you can see the evolution of the brand over the years, like Pat Finley wearing a Camp Hope 89 shirt. We see some people wearing a 90 shirt. There are just different type treatments in the signage, the hats, like you guys mentioned. Like Harvey Bushkin has the little eagle pin on his hat and does the bird call. There's just a lot of good callbacks to like Camp Hope nostalgia from the long history of the camp. And then going to the Perkis system logo, did this stand out to you guys?
It's definitely a play on Da Vinci's Vitruvian Man.
mm-hmm.
It's just such a funny looking logo. Connor, as a designer, what did you think of that?
Yeah, it's such a great visual contrast from like the warmth and the nostalgia of all the Camp Hope branding to like this weird, harsh Perkis system branding that, again, like you said, features Tony in a Vitruvian Man style position. And it's really funny framing to have like the arms coming out from behind him when we're seeing him on stage
With weights, yeah.
Yeah, just the way that he's positioned. And the fact that the logo is a globe with him at the center is just a great wink at probably how he thinks of himself, like as the center of the universe in his world.
Yeah.
Also a little foreshadowing into his eventual downfall. A little later on, he references the Greek myth of Icarus in the hike scene, and the writers just do a great job of dropping hints like this along the way for us.
Which, by the way, is incredible because he has the myth completely wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that must have been deliberate.
Oh,
right?
absolutely
so.
deliberate.
Yeah.
Just speaking to his kind of idiocy. And Connor, speaking of foreshadowing, when we eventually make our way into Dodgeball, I think the gym that Goodman owns is called like Globo Gym.
Globo Gym, similar logo.
And
too.
similar logo,
Yeah.
right?
Purple.
With the globe. Yeah.
I also really loved the lighting fixture that is shown in this scene from Tony Perkis Sr., the lighting fixture king of Western Pennsylvania.
That is a really great moment. And going back to something I said earlier, once again, he looks to the audience made up of kids, and he's just like, like you should be familiar with this character. And it's like, of course, kids would never like have any idea who this person is.
Yes, I love how specific it is. Yeah, like you said, Connor. For those of you from Western Pennsylvania, so it's already
Right.
like a really niche group of people, and they're all just kids. You'll know my father, the lighting fixture king. They won't. They absolutely won't know who that is.
I also like the way that he says it with like disdain.
Yes.
Like he doesn't like it. He's like, you'll probably know my father.
I think it's also hilarious how like his dad being the lighting fixture king would like afford him a life of private, tutors and stuff that he didn't have to go to public school.
Right. And how about just the fact that there is literally a spotlight that is just tracing over the audience when he first comes in, which is just so over the top for just a random camp in the middle of the woods.
Yeah, and the whole lighting of that scene, actually, now that I think about it, like it's very well lit the entire time. And then as soon as they want to have the light fixture come down, all of a sudden the lights are really shitty.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just like a great touch too in his opening speech when he says, I'm not just going to give you the light. I'm going to show you the light. Like I'm going to do the old man one better.
Every single thing he says has to be some sort of like pun or thing that he thinks that like working the crowd that he thinks will be enjoyable for them.
How about his opening line?
Oh,
Can you smell
it? Yeah.
So
Which
weird.
is like,
Can you feel it? Everybody's like, what the?
It's a lot like he rehearsed it himself, like in
Yes.
front of a mirror.
Yes.
And then once he got in the room, like just wrong room, dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
Read the room. Yeah.
Not to
Yeah.
mention it's just the information that he wants to relay to the kids is very confusing through all these like mixed metaphors and puns, and it's like, so what is this guy actually trying to do? At some point he says, I think as you were saying, Connor, he's trying to make, one of the most popular infomercials for weight loss, a weight loss camp in the country, and then immediate cut to Pat, who, as he's saying that, he kind of rolls his eyes and cocks his head back, all to say, we're doomed. Like now, this is the point of the scene. This is his intention. We're all doomed here, and the fun is over. Like it's been a good run. So then moving into a little bit of the sight and sound of the scene, Mark, I know you had a note about, some of the way it was shot.
yeah. So growing up a Bulls fan, I remember watching the games as a kid, and I remember there was this one distinct shot that they would always do when the players were being introduced.
Yes.
They would have this really low angle, and all the teammates would kind of do like high fives, like almost in like a kneeling position.
Uh-huh.
And Perkis obviously tries to do the same thing here, but does not get any response from the kids at all.
Oh, that's such a great pickup. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that was definitely intentional. And I also like the use of high and low in this scene where we're kind of starting by trailing him. And then when he gets up on stage and he looks out over the whole crowd, it kind of shows the levels that he thinks he's on compared to everyone else below him. There's this nice shot where he's looking out at the whole camp and you get a feel for the space. It's like our big wide shot of this whole scene.
This is kind of an aside, but I've been thinking, is he wearing a wig or is that his real hair?
Right.
I was wondering the same thing.
Because when you see the reverse shot from behind where he's looking at the camp, it definitely looks like a wig. But I feel like the rest of the movie, I could almost believe it's his real hair.
Yeah.
The only reason I think it may be a wig was because we just watched that end credit scene where he had normal hair. And I know they could have shot it at different times, obviously, but something makes me feel like it may be like extensions or something like that.
Now that I'm looking at a still, it looks like a wig. And I think that kind of gives some of his like weird appearance too. He has like this like uncanny valley.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Like the scene when they're on the hike, he wears a headband, right? And it's like
Yeah.
his hair feels like very long in that
Yeah.
scene.
So going back to Stiller's entrance here, maybe we could talk a little bit about the sound use in this scene.
Yeah.
I really do love the sound of the police sirens when he first enters the scene. It's just such a stark contrast to everything else. It's such an arresting way to get all the children on the edge of their seat for this like new owner. It felt almost more like a pro wrestling entrance with this like punchy
Yes.
bass, slap bass kind of sound and this rolling drum beat. Was this all just in an effort to impress the kids? Like, I just don't really know.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where he thinks that's cool, but no one else thinks that's cool.
Can we talk a little bit about the music cue that's used for Tony's entrance, which is what sounds like sort of a ripoff with those drums you're talking about, Mark.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like a ripoff of the Gary Glitter song "Rock and Roll," which I don't know if you guys know that
Yeah,
song.
Rock and Roll Part 2. It's a
Yeah.
great song
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
definitely in line with like the soundtrack of this movie. It's very like jock jams at parts. All the like music that you would play to like a workout, basically.
Yeah. And then just cutting to the next music cue used in the scene when he mentions his father, the lighting fixture king, the chandelier pops down from the ceiling, like you were saying, Nate, where it's like suddenly shitty and dark, and then this
Yeah.
chandelier pops down and illuminates everything. The music that's used is so bizarre and out of place. It's almost like stock music that's used in a video game when you accomplish something or get a trophy. It's like the trophy music, and it comes out of nowhere. And I'm curious to see if you guys think, is that a diegetic in-world sound
I was
that's
wondering
used?
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess I thought of it as like they're playing that live in the room.
Right. Yeah, that's what I think too, because it kind of complements the hokiness of the presentation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So all throughout the scene when he's like, "Can you smell it?" And it's very, very silent. And in the background you can hear crickets, which I think is important
Yeah.
because it like singles him out
Uh-huh.
as
Yeah.
somebody who is not like capturing the crowd at all. So
For sure. And it makes sense for a summer camp too.
Mm-hmm. I really love how the scene ends on this beat of some kid just shouting, "I want to go home."
Yeah.
Oh, so good. What an amazing scene. Really, really love it.
What are you guys' favorite quotes from the movie?
What do you think my favorite quote is, maybe?
Oh, I have an idea.
Mark,
Okay.
you would know best.
I think it may be easy pickings here. Like I might pick something that's
Okay.
a little obvious, but when they first talk about the new nurse and how she's like good looking, when Josh is like, "This pleases me."
Yeah, that's it.
Is it?
My favorite quote is from Josh Birnbaum. He says, "This pleases me." And my
oh my God,
my
you were
absolute,
right.
like favorite moment in the film is the intro to Josh as a character. It's like he's just like opening a pocket knife on like the bed and he's already in the bunk when all the other kids walk in, and we're just like immediately given the visual cue that this kid is cool.
Camp legend.
Mhm. Almost like a mobster. He had like mobster feel,
Yeah,
like
he did.
mobster vibes to me. But I think my favorite quote would probably be, "Come on, you devil log."
That's great.
I really
Oh
like
my
that one.
Cody?
My favorite quote, probably in the whole film, is just as the dance with one of the sister camps is ending, Ben Stiller going, "Put the fruit trays away. The insects will be out soon."
That's so great. It's
That's
like
a really good one.
Such a throwaway line, but it's so good. It's just like this
Yeah.
guy's weird. Weird energy.
Very weird. Why would you say that? It's just
He's
such-
like holding a
just-
nightstick too, or
Just
something.
like anti-fun.
Nate, what about you? What's your favorite?
Well, my all-time favorite that I used to quote a lot was "Lunch is canceled due to lack of hustle."
Oh,
Deal
classic.
with it.
That's a
So
classic.
that was a
Right.
classic. This time, one of the biggest belly laughs I had was, "Get on the scale, son. Get off the scale."
Yeah, that's so good. Josh Birnbaum, step on down.
Yeah.
Another belly laugh I had was like how ridiculous some of the show off pieces that Ben Stiller has are for the kids. Like when he's on the bed of nails with the ice and somebody's
Yeah.
using a sledgehammer to crack it open. It's like they must have had the best time just coming up with the most ridiculous thing for his character to do.
Mhm. Yeah, that's such a great touch.
Or the spinning on the branch on the cliff.
Yeah,
That's such a great moment.
It
It's like
is.
it's genuinely terrifying. Like, this guy's insane.
unhinged. Yeah. Oh man, so fun. I'm glad we all got to chat about it.
Hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think the film as a whole, as we were kind of talking about at the beginning, it's just this great message about all these people coming together. It leaves this very positive message, as you were saying, Connor, about, wanting to do something for yourself, not about what someone else puts on you or what society puts on you. And it doesn't necessarily need to pertain to being overweight. It can be about anything, wanting to accomplish something on your own. And I think the scene we covered today is a great example of that former hope clashing with this new world order that's come in. And it's the perfect kind of like black and white call and response sequence that you were talking about, Mark. And I think it was a really good one to pick, especially because of Ben Stiller's performance.
Yeah, well said.
Good movie.
Well, Nate, it's been so awesome talking about heavyweights with you. Thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today. This was so much fun.
Likewise, thank you for having me.
Thanks so much, Nate.
Yeah, thank you.
And thank you to our listeners and fellow movie enthusiasts for reliving this scene with us. Do you have a favorite scene from Heavyweights? You can email us at contact@scenecraftpodcast.com with any of your thoughts or comments, or follow us on Instagram, X, TikTok, or Threads at Scenecraft Podcast for any scheduling updates and news. You can also support the podcast by leaving us a review or star rating on your platform of choice. A very special thanks to Jordan Summerlad for our theme music. This has been Scenecraft, where we break down the craft behind our favorite scenes. And we want to leave you with one last
Hi. I think that was worse.
That was getting worse.
All right, see you next time.